Bread, it's a huge subject, but essentially it comes down to flour, yeast and some liquid. The flour that we're looking for bread is strong flour. Okay, it has a higher protein content, and actually if you look on the packet it will say 10-11 grams for bread flour. Up to a good bread flour would be 13. The higher protein level means you can develop the gluten more and have a good solid structure, so when the bread rises the air is trapped and it's easy to bake. Yeast, we have two main types: dried yeast that I've got there on the right, and fresh yeast that we've got in the block on the left. Okay. The fresh yeast goes straight into the dough. The dried yeast, if it's instant yeast, you can put it straight in. If it's the baker's yeast, you need to hydrate it in the liquid first. I've also thrown a bit of salt in for good measure. Okay, so the first process is kneading the bread to develop the gluten. I've got my 4 fingers, and I'm trying not to get it all over my hand, just those 4 fingers, and I'm stirring it around like a whisk to bring the dough together. Once it comes together, I'll tip it out onto the bench and knead it for 10 minutes. You could do this process in a machine simply by using the dough hook, putting everything in and turning it on, and we'll do that in later sessions, but it's good to know how to do it by hand as well. Now what we're trying to do with this concept of developing the gluten is make the gluten strands longer and pliable and stronger. So we're stretching the dough out on the bench, and you should notice that it gets more and more elastic and smoother as the kneading process goes on. It takes about 10 minutes. It's a good solid workout. It would be the same time in a machine. Now when you pick the dough up, you should notice it's a lot more stretchy and elastic. It doesn't tear the same. You can stretch it out and it stays together. It's also a lot smoother. Now we give it a little dust with flour, roll it up into a ball, forcing all of the creases into the bottom of the ball, and leave it to rise. It needs to be somewhere warm. It's really important that it's somewhere warm, away from the breeze. It might take an hour, it might take 5 hours, depending on the temperature of the air, the temperature of the water and the flour when you start it. But we're looking for it to double in size for the first proof. Tip it out onto a bench, and this process is called scaling, where you decide how many loaves you're going to make, how big they're going to be, and actually you would, strictly speaking, weigh them all to be the same size, which is why it's called scaling. Now we take 3 different points and pull them into the center, and then we do it again. We're trying to make sure that all of the creases from the piece of dough go into the center underneath. And by working the dough around in our hands and tucking the creases into the center underneath, it means that the dough is going to rise evenly on itself and not split or crack on the top. Now dough needs a chance to relax before you use it again, so it's quite good to let it stand for a few minutes before we shape it. I'm going to make these into baguettes. So I'm going to pull the first side at 11 and 2 o'clock, and then I'm going to roll the dough over on itself, really trying to get that center crease right in underneath the baguette. It's the same principle as before, so that when the baguette rises it doesn't crack or split. So there's my crease all the way along the center underneath, with the dough sitting on top. nice smooth surface on the top. I'll roll the ends to give it just purely to give it the shape. And then I'll repeat the process. So pull the 2 front points into the center, and then the middle and the third, and then do the same on the bottom side, and then push your thumbs right down into that crease, fold the dough back on itself. It's easier to watch actually than it is to explain. Roll the 2 end pieces to shape it. Make sure the creases are underneath and it's sitting on the top of the crease side. Now we dust the cloche with some semolina flour and strong flour. A 50-50 mix of semolina and strong flour means that the flour won't clump together and it'll coat the dough nicely. So it's got a nice coating of flour so it doesn't stick to the cloche, or in this case the tea towel. Now we're going to leave it for the rise. It's ready for the oven when it's nearly doubled in size. Doubled in size is the ideal scenario, but we've got to allow for oven spring, which is when we place it down on a very hot tray in the oven and it expands by that last 10%. If we left it to double in size before we put it in the oven, the risk is that the structure isn't quite stable enough, and instead of giving a nice little puff at the end, making sure the shape of the bread stays nice, the air is going to escape and it's going to collapse, and that makes the dough dense. So 90% doubled in size, and then we place it onto the hot tray in the oven. If you're using a domestic oven, it's good to put some steam in, put a little bit of water on the bottom of the oven to create some steam, and that helps to give it a crust. Keep the oven nice and hot, and then watch it work its magic. Loaves like these should take around 40 minutes or so. When they're nice and golden on the outside, take them out of the oven, give them a tap on the bottom, and they should sound hollow. Tempting as it is to cut them and eat them straight away, and it always is tempting, it's important that they get a good half an hour to an hour to cool slightly. They'll carry on cooking a little bit, and it'll be worth the wait.